I didn't teach him that. He does. That's pro.
I think you copied him once.
I think you saw it on TV, but I saw it one time.
Okay, good evening and welcome to Petaluma Community Access Board of Directors meeting for Tuesday, January 15, 2019. Happy New Year, everyone. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Cindy Thomas.
Here.
Dennis Murphy. Judy Kirschner. Present. Dominica Giovannini.
Here.
Richard Alpert.
Here.
Dana Porteous.
Here.
Jason Lopez. And Tim Williams.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, we have a quorum. Anybody want to speak at public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the Board of Directors' comments and announcements, if there are any. Okay.
I got one. We have re-hooked up with a new, or electronics e-waste recycling down where the old recycling place used to be downtown next to the fire station. So they're open for business.
Next to the fire station.
Fire headquarters, that's off D Street, I think it's like First Street, First or Second Street.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that it? Okay, everybody has their agenda. Does anybody have any modifications? If not, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Anyone opposed? Okay, has anybody any corrections for the minutes of November 18, 2018? I will need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, anyone opposed or abstain? Okay. Treasurer's report.
So that would be me. So I did talk about reviewing all the financials, but I mean, so we can all understand item by item. I'd like to put that off to next meeting, so I want to make sure that everyone brings a copy, or make sure we have copies, so we can all review it together. Per discussion, there isn't anything remarkable about the budget. I do want to point out that we are running at a loss year to date. But I think we all know that there was some capital at the end of last year. So again, our fiscal year is from July to June, just as a reminder. And so we had those capital expenses or equipment purchases that we had to do last year. So that contributed to that. So I don't know if there's anything else that Dawn would like to add, or if anyone has any questions.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Dawn?
I do not.
Okay. Any comments from the public?
I could just throw in that our tax returns are done. Don and I will be picking them up when we go to Torkelson's.
Okay.
When they do public comment, doesn't he have to stand up and identify himself to the camera?
Thank you, Mr. Bertucci.
You got off easy.
Okay. We can now move to the executive director's report. Please, Don.
Okay, we do have 2 new hires coming in. One's named Sunday, and I forget, Patty, what's the other person's name? Arelli? It's, in any case, they're not officially hired, and they haven't done their training yet, but that'll be probably by the next meeting. We'll have 2 new access assistants.
Are they interns or access?
Access assistants.
Interns.
Oh, they are, they're interns. Okay. I met one, she was great, we did a radio training last week. Rob and Jeff wanted me to note that we're moving the copy machine out of the hallway, which is going to require some rewiring. We're going to move everything into the middle area, and then Rob's got some plans for that hallway, so it's less cluttered and less wires and things like that. There was talk about emailing the main supporters for the envelope, please, and letting them know we're not going to have that event this year. I'm not sure who to speak with about that. I'm happy to reach out on behalf of that mailing list provided to me. I'm sure you all saw the Argus Courier article on John and myself. I thought that was really nice. It was nice to get some support and some notice. A lot of feedback to me that was very positive, and also I think it was good to kind of restart and put us back on the map. A lot of people didn't realize we had a radio station that I talked to and things like that, which was, good and bad. Now they know, so that's good. But
I like that they had the little snapshot on the front page, so. Yeah.
my mom was very excited. She went down to the mini mart and spoke to the gentleman there and said, "This is my son." And he was very excited when I came in next. So quite a week for the Lewis family. January 23rd is Pi Day, and if you go to Petaluma Pie and you write blank as easy as 1, 2, 3, you get 10% off your pie purchase. So I went down and wrote joining PCA as easy as 1, 2, 3, and I encourage other people, listening to the Dina Porte show as easy as 1, 2, 3 or whatever like that. It's a good way to promote things and stay community activated. It's fun. I'll be attending the Downtown Association meeting on January 23rd. I believe Patty's going. Are you going to go too, John? No?
No, Patty
I'm
goes.
all right. And speaking of Patty, she's done an awesome job. A lot of us are involved in this, Rob, myself. And I think Paul's going to be added to it. Creating a protocol for handing out key cards and things like that. We're just going over the final details on making sure the terminology is correct, making sure we're all on the same page about, there's a thing in there about fines if you lose your key card, proper use of the key card, things like that. So just putting the finer points on that. I'm fairly certain by the next board meeting we'll be able to present that as a full, done type of thing. I have the Movie Muse is going to do an Oscar event on the Oscars. If anybody wants to take a look at her production request, it's going to be on February 24th, starting at 4:30 and ending at 10. It's going to be in the TV side, so they're going to watch the Oscars on that TV, and then she's going to do her show simultaneously, and then she'll bop back and forth because her show ends before the Oscars. It's not a live broadcast of the show on the radio. It's just a viewing party. They're going to have popcorn. It's going to be really nice and fun.
Has that been approved yet?
I think that's what we're here to do, right? I'm still trying to figure out the finer points and that type of stuff. You guys want to take a look at it and then approve it, or?
No, actually, it should go to the outreach committee.
Okay,
It
that's
hasn't
right,
met
right.
for 2 months, but it needs a date, and there's been some updates on that concept. She could do a live show. I'm giving up my slot to her, and Rob says it's easy to get a microphone into the main room.
Right, she can do a live show, but you can't have the broadcast come over the airwaves.
Oh.
Yeah, that's, yeah. Maybe that's maybe just my interpretation of a live show. So that goes to the events committee, or is that?
It would go to, yeah.
Okay,
No, the outreach committee.
outreach committee. Still learning this stuff, bear with me. All right.
I'm still learning the difference.
We got a lot of committees.
The
But I have
names.
this, if anyone wants to take a look at it before we present it to the outreach committee. It's pretty basic stuff. Friday night, I'm sure you're all aware, there's the crossword show at the Keller Street Co-work. It's open to the public. There's a cover, and then they're also serving drinks, kombucha and beer. All the proceeds from the bar go to KPCA, and they also need 2 to 3 volunteers who want to pour drinks, if anybody's interested in doing that.
I was told he's fine.
Oh, he
At
is?
this point, as of this morning, so it doesn't hurt to check in with him again, but I offered, he said, no, I'm good, but
Good.
come on down and.
If we've known about this event, why are we not getting something in the studio for us to write, and every single programmer should be advancing something that feeds our own funding?
I just downloaded this email from an email that went to all the programmers for you to
Okay.
read on there. Yeah.
English
Good
is
question.
in there.
I just ad-libbed it today because I had no
Yeah,
idea. what
I'm
was
with you.
going
It came
on.
out, I think I printed this out today, so I think it must have come out last night from Rob, but it even says, there's a part at the bottom that needs volunteers, do not read on air, and the top part is to read on air. It's got all that.
But that's,
So that,
There has been a sheet in there. I
In the
read that
studio?
off of it last Friday.
oh, I didn't see anything.
I saw a poster in the TV side. I didn't see a sheet.
It might have gotten misplaced,
Yeah.
like a lot of other things in there.
Rob's
Well,
pretty
thanks
good at
for,
putting
thanks
stuff
for,
in.
Yeah.
because it's for our own benefit.
Absolutely, and it looks like a lot of fun, and that's a beautiful space. I actually, just speaking of my report, I met with Barton Smith yesterday and went over to the Keller Street Co-work, which is a beautiful building. And it's great that we're being able to use that, and it looks like a really fun show as well.
I wish we just would have known in general further in advance. Because it went out to programmers last week, I think, which is fine, but the event, when did the event even come online that was happening? Does
It
anyone
was
know?
approved at the last board meeting.
Yeah, and that sheet
Well,
has
two-
been
two
in the
board meetings
studio.
ago.
I've seen it for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was
I
there,
haven't
it
been
was
in
there
the
last
studio
night.
this week yet,
It was there
but it
last
was
night.
there too for over the last 2 weeks.
Well, because the email to the okay, I didn't see it, but the email out to the programmers was just last week, so that's what I was asking. Because I wouldn't have known otherwise.
So it seems like there should be some kind of board, notebook, even if it's just a clipboard for
Mm.
starts,
Or
with
a whiteboard.
all things.
You can
like
just open it up, yeah, that's a
Open it
great
up and read.
idea.
I mean, that's how we did it.
That's
every
great.
week, how we used to do it, so it's like check what day
Yeah.
it is, can go by date, month.
Just
year.
upcoming events.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, now I remember.
Now, you know, with the interns coming back too from school, we can even have them read things that we get recorded and then put them through so they're just coming through during the automation too, so
Awesome, as well.
good stuff. Yeah, definitely promoting our events is probably a good idea. So people will come. Yeah, so that's this Friday if anybody wants to go. It's $15 in advance, $20 day of. I'm sure you guys can work it, get in there. What else do we got? I was gonna say something about the logging incident. I don't think we really need to. I mean, we should probably, I'd like to start a timeline on that, speaking of getting the word out about events. I mean, I don't think it's too early to start, you know, generating a poster or some kind of information besides just saying it's gonna happen. I know the bands are coming into place and stuff like that, but,
Well, Don,
yes, sir.
we haven't really solidified what the committees are. So maybe tonight at some point we can get that back in motion, because for one of the committees I've been
It's on the
involved in,
It's on the agenda tonight.
Okay.
Yeah,
we will address it.
Yeah,
we have to.
He just gave himself away, he didn't read the agenda.
No, is it all right if I speak?
sure.
Okay, because we missed the last meeting and we didn't have a measure in place for us to make that date. And we've lost a couple of members in the meantime, so
True. Yeah.
even if we reform, we're down. a
You don't have
couple of-
quorum.
We're down John, we're down,
Dennis.
and we don't know where
And Phil.
Jason is, and Phil is gone. So we're a committee of two.
Well, technically, we only had two.
That should make you more decisive.
Oh, it has.
You'd think,
Oh,
right?
It has.
Yeah.
But I did want to clarify though that the application for the event is supposed to go to the events committee, correct? Because there's outreach and fund development and then events, so it would be the events committee that would be reviewing the events, correct? Is that correct?
Yeah, and part of me even thinks we need to rethink this, how this has been divided up,
Wasn't
because,
that, didn't you say that was on the agenda?
I'm sorry, yeah, we should wait till we get there.
No, just because there was direction to,
Or we
anyway,
could
we
just
can
skip
deal with it
around.
later. We can deal with
It's hard
it
to
later.
take
Can we
notes.
just wait till we get to that
Let's
part of
get
the
there,
agenda?
let's, yeah,
That's why we
let's let
have
Dawn
an agenda,
finish
is
up
my
his
thought.
spiel.
All right, I'm almost done. Do we cover the part about Jeff working at City Hall here, or do we?
Not
No.
yet, not yet.
I'm not even sure why I put that on. And yeah, this is my first official board meeting as executive director, and everything's going well. John's been great, a lot of information, but he's really good at parceling it out so I don't get overwhelmed.
Step it up.
It's been, yeah, no, don't. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody
Thank you.
have,
Yes, thank you.
any questions for Don?
No, I think we interrupted him enough.
Was that?
I think we interrupted him enough.
Yeah.
We can fix that.
It was good. Okay, there's no items for the consent calendar. Reports of committees. I don't have the minutes of the executive committee in front of me.
That's because I didn't send them out. That's my bad. But really, all we talked about was items for the board meeting, which obviously the agenda's already been done. And then we talked about performance reviews for board and staff, as well as performance review or satisfaction surveys for member, programmer, and staff. And basically, we decided that we wanted to wait until Dawn was onboarded to address those issues because we're kind of in the middle and don't want to throw everything at you all at once. Then the only other thing that we really talked about was the employment contract for the transitional ED, and there was changes that were going to be made to the language.
I haven't retyped that yet.
So that was pretty much it. That's all we really.
Sorry, John.
And then discussion, well, it was not really discussion on legal issues, it was just, that was it, yeah, so.
Okay.
Short and sweet, everything's short and sweet today.
Yeah. Finance committee has not met, but we're gonna get the committees staffed. Let's some point during this meeting, and then we'll move forward with having all the committees meet as they should be. So the nominating committee did not meet.
Yes, we did.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Richard and I met. Jason was a no-show. We understand that we have board members that are leaving, and we would like to go back into functioning and nominate from inside. And we want it to be evident to everybody that we would like to be active in that and find people that we think, not just programmers, but other people maybe possibly we can bring in from the community that would become members and would like to go a little bit more active in trying to engage. Maybe somebody in City Hall we can get as a member and join in with the board. That's what we met and that's what we discussed, and we just think we should try to reach outside the community. We did think of people on the inside that are programmers, but as you've discussed in the past, we need to broaden our reach and see if we can bring people from outside. So Richard and I have already talked about it, and we just wanted to let you know that that was our idea, that we reach out, we bring people in. We're not sure how we do it, but we want to do it, and I already read the rules and regulations here, to do it the correct way and with everybody on the board having knowledge of it, because everybody here may have somebody in mind themselves. And it would be great if we got them involved as soon as possible, because we're down.
So we should put this on the next board agenda so we can all have a discussion about that.
Okay.
Okay? Okay,
Yeah.
good, great.
So the nominating committee.
Board recruitment. Thank you. Policies and procedures did not meet, and yes, Tim, I did see your email, but I'm like 300 emails behind right now. And
Catch up,
what's that?
catch up.
I know.
You need to flag mine. as
Life
important.
happened this week. Outreach and fund development. Yeah, let's tackle this committee stuff further into the agenda. Let's move to old business. 10A is a discussion of possible action on marketing and social media. And that's, here she comes. We're just announcing your agenda item 10A.
Oh, shoot, sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Right on time.
Oh, we went really fast today. Thought it was a second. So Patty is here to give a review of the marketing and social media plan. I think we got the PowerPoint prior, all of the PowerPoint prior. So we met, and I asked that it be kind of distilled down to the main points so that the board can kind of see the direction and planning. So, thank you. Welcome, come on up. Okay. Or stand up, or whatever. Whatever makes you most comfortable.
John said
Yeah, that's good.
right here,
That's
so I
good.
can be online. Madam Chair, council members.
What?
Yes, that works. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background. Before coming to PCA, what I was doing is I was doing social media for small businesses and medium-sized businesses and what have you. So when I came to PCA, the first thing I did was look at the sites that PCA had. And I've been doing this for the last 7 years, and I couldn't find some of these sites because of the way they're listed. So as one of the recommendations, they should all be the same. When you look at Coca-Cola, it's always Coca-Cola. So for us, it should be the same with whatever the board decides to come up with. But as you can see, all the different names for each one of the accounts, plus we have split accounts, 2 Twitters, 2 Instagrams, what have you. So they should be consolidated into one and be named all the same. The pictures, the branding, as Dominica you brought up, our brand should be the same. It should always look the same so everyone would know whatever site they're on. Oh, that's Petaluma Community Access. If we're going to make it be PCA, then everything is going to be called PCA. But whatever it is, we need to have one message, one brand, same colors, everything, so it becomes very familiar.
I have a question really quick. Not for you, for the board, because I thought last meeting, if I recall, there was direction to get rid of the KPCA separated accounts.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you probably just didn't get that message.
No.
Okay. So the board decided last month that we were going to get rid of the KPCA duplicate accounts, so it's just Instagram, Twitter, I believe,
Correct.
and then push everything through those. So am I remembering that correct, everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Would that be your recommendation?
Yes.
Okay.
But what I would need, maybe I can get with you rather than holding everyone up, is certain logistics, like what is gonna be the name, so it's consistent for YouTube, for Facebook, for Instagram, for Twitter, same.
I thought it was gonna be Petaluma Community Access, so I think that's what we decided,
Okay.
yeah.
Because sometimes doing a name change, it takes, they usually like hold the account, like you can't just do it, it's gonna take a little bit of time. They usually hold it for a week whenever you do like a major name change, because they don't, wanna make sure that you're not messing around with stuff, so. But, okay, so I hear that.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh.
okay.
I would also recommend maybe not just deleting the accounts, but maybe just putting, people could guide them over to the main
Direct.
account.
Redirects.
Yeah, just redirect. I don't know, see the
Maybe I
point.
can get with you on that.
Yeah,
For-
absolutely.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So I broke it down, actually with Dominica's help, gave me the different areas that we handle for outreach. First is emails. We have a mailing list that it's actually 807 total users, 325 active members. So when we send out an email, I usually use active because that's the list that was populated. And so they basically, we went from constant contact, we now use MailChimp, and everybody would have gotten something today if you look at your emails. Newsletter went out today by email. So the second thing is a newsletter is another avenue that we send out. But because I changed it a little bit differently, instead of giving the newsletter all the information, I put the entire newsletter up on the website, and I only put links for the title, for the topics, what would be in the newsletter, so that people, if they want to read more, they're going to have to click a link, and that's going to drive everybody to go to the website so they can see, oh, there's a radio station, oh, there, you know, so that's the whole purpose. And I know that, again, we have two websites, so that's a whole nother discussion, again, that challenge there. So it'd be great to just have one site rather than two separate sites.
Which I
So-
think, sorry, I think we
I think we
discussed
did
that.
we all agreed
And
that.
I think the idea which you brought up is to get rid of the doubles because it made no sense.
Right.
So hopefully that's, I'm sorry, I don't know if that was a question or a statement. But yeah, the idea is to get rid of the
So the third area for outreach is the TV bulletins, channel 26, 27, 28 Comcast channels. So I've done about 97 bulletins, and they're just really interesting, but I'd like to, there are three things that we do with bulletins. One is there are three associations that we're very close with, so we'll sometimes put their information on there. That's the Arts Center, the Downtown Association, and the museum. Other than that, we really, it's just for us to brand what we do. It's really about pushing KPCA, about programmers, becoming a member, you know, information like that. I did a Donate Tuesday, you know, for people if they want to donate to KPCA. So the bulletins are really for us and only for chosen members. But the third area is that there could be paid bulletins for outside individuals if they would like to.
Subscribe.
Yes, and we have a whole rate sheet and what that would all entail, so that's another area. I've not pursued that, I've just put the bulletins up, so it's not the same 15, but to like make it be interesting and different, and so I suggest if anybody has cable, if they could go to 26, 27, 28, and see where I can do it.
Okay, but not advertising, we're not talking advertising.
No, no call to action, no money, it's simply information. Just programmers, maybe like what time a certain person's on or what have you, you would see it. I mean, I'm within the guidelines, what we're allowed to do for bulletins.
I'm trying to envision what we would do for the Downtown Association or the Arts Council. What kind of bulletins? Give me an example.
If they had an event, The museum had an event a while back. It was supposed to be like a fundraiser for them. And so they said, would you mind doing that? We've done it in the past. I got the approval for that. So I put their poster up,
Okay.
you know, simple thing like that.
Will there be paid advertising?
That's another avenue. In other words, I have not pursued that, but that's an avenue that we can use bulletins for as well.
Okay.
But it's within guidelines of what you can and can't do. It can't be promotional or calls to action or money, but they get to have their information up there.
Okay.
The third area would be, again, website, wanting to put, obviously, any type of news information. I've made sure that all of the programmer information, we've got over 40 now, a picture and a description, plus all their, like what day and what time they're on, so it's consistent, all on the website, as well as events, news, obviously newsletter is on there, and any other things like Dominica, like when you were going to do your class, that went on there. So just things like that. Again, the URL, it's very easy on social media to say, you want more information, go to. So again, it's driving traffic constantly to the newsletter. I'm sorry, to the website. So then with our social media sites, PCA was doing it great. Facebook, you had a Facebook page, fab. Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Those are the 4 strongest areas, and for different reasons. Facebook is the most popular for what we do, has the most information, and again, it's to get information out there, so we do it with content. There are analytics for each one of those sites, and so then you know like what time of day is the best, or what hour, what is grabbing people. Sometimes with social media it's a little bit trial and error, so that you see what has the most amount of likes or clicks or things like that. So then you'll know, oh, people like more like news items, or people like pictures, or people like your class was one of the largest amount of people clicked on it. So they don't need to know it didn't happen. In other words, we got a lot of traffic with that.
Just tell them it was great.
Yeah, but I'm just, in other words, so there's a whole list of that, and I can show anybody at any time, but that's all stuff that you get from there. And so I would suggest we continue with those. I think those really are the best. On our YouTube, that's where we put, obviously, board of directors, we put our school board, things like parades, other kinds of events, paid events, and because we just recently had an election cycle, we had a lot of stuff to put up there, and that drove a lot of people to go to our YouTube site. Yes.
Can radio programmers or radio events, meaning it could be somebody's interviewed in the studio, can we post that and use that for PCA, onto PCA TV?
We're working on that, right? That's something that's down the road that's been talked about, is having the camera connected, and I know it's on the horizon.
All we've done so far, myself, was to just film it on phones and then post it. But I didn't know there was an avenue to post it to PCA TV.
Well,
Which leads to my, let me just finish, which leads to my real question is there a way that you're gonna integrate all of us into this system? I don't pretend to know anything about computers or Instagram or any of these things, but if we get everybody in KPCA or PCA TV involved, and we would be cross-pollinating from within, and it would also allow us to communicate a little bit better, because that's been a difficulty for us, just communicate inside with each other. So that's my question.
Sure.
And the last part of my question is, we did set up a Slack account, and a number of us that are programmers have been communicating via Slack, mostly to get somebody to replace another person on the program, but we haven't been able to figure out how to reach out and say to everybody the right way, hey, Slack is one way that we could all communicate. Is there a way that we can all communicate within this system that you're setting up? Is that part of what we're trying to do here, to cross-pollinate from within?
Okay. I'm hearing, Dana, 2 questions within the question. So I want you to be heard and to know what the 2 points are. The thing about communicating within, my understanding that is the KPCA programmers page on Facebook to talk about your shows, talk about what's going on, what you're doing. That's your understanding of what that page is? I don't work with that page, that's only for programmers. It's, you have your own page, all programmers have their own page.
What is the name of that one?
KBCA programmers.
Free range radio.
Free range.
Okay,
Free range.
all right.
It's public facing, yeah.
Right. So now, Dana, the other part of the question is, what I feel is very important and is for each programmer to connect with all of PCA sites so that there is the cross-pollination that goes on, as opposed to me connecting with programmers. It's for programmers, because by you doing that, PCA automatically gets all of your feed and followers, and yours and yours and like that. So, so that would be, I feel, an important part is for each of the programmers. It'd be great if they could all connect with our Instagram, our YouTube, you know, each one of the sites that we have. That now exponentially explodes us, which is fabulous. And then the information you have does get out there, as opposed to how I was doing it before, is if you had a show, let me know, and then I'll post it. That now becomes too cumbersome when we're at over 40 programs. I can't, it would not work. It would, because again, with these sites, except for Twitter, which is very, very short time period, if you do too much, people are turned off and will unfollow you. If you do too little, they don't even know you exist. So it's like, it's the Goldilocks principle. It's finding exactly the right amount that you have. Like during the elections, we did a lot more, but people expected that because a lot more was going on. But if you kept at a pace by doing 4 and 5 and 6 a day, not a good thing. So that's the balance that I have with that. Whereas with all of you, you can do that for your own shows, and then that cross-pollinates. And then things like tags that you mentioned, Dominica, things of that sort would really help. So again, with the cross-function, it's classes, pages, and tag pages, and content with our brand, fantastic. But again, with social media, again, there's a policy that we have so that programmers don't use our logo or what have you. There are going to be rules and policies, you know, about that. But for their own stuff, that's fantastic. So that's kind of encapsulating exactly. I mean, I can go into a lot more. I don't think we need more sites. I think we need to consolidate and really focus on what we have and just expand from there. So you've done great, and this is a way that we can refine it.
Well, I just wanted to add, I think the reason that my class probably had the most, or not the most, but a lot of interaction is because I shared it. I know Dawn shared it. It was on my public page, my private page, so I think that's why. It's because it was shared and seen by so many people, and that's kind of the key to that cross-pollination, as we're calling it, or micro-marketing, where it's this domino effect of, you know, sharing those posts and doing all that kind of stuff.
And I'd love programmers to be able to do that.
Well, when the next time I have my training, people can come.
Because that would help us tremendously. If you have any questions, I'm open to that, but I didn't want to take up more time on that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions? Okay.
She's
Thanks,
too
Patty.
thorough.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anything more on this item? Okay, then let's move to 10B, discussion possible action on the Sebastopol City meeting contract.
So really, it was just an update of what's happened, and I think an email went out today, but if we
Yeah,
can get an
sorry.
update of where that's at, that'd be awesome.
So Patty broke down how many hours a year we would have for Sebastopol Windsor. How do you want me to do this? Do you want me to just tell you like previous things that we're doing for other cities, or just bring in the Windsor Sebastopol like details.
I think Windsor and Sebastopol for me, because we already know what we've been doing
Yeah.
in
Okay.
other cities, yeah.
So Patty, you created this document where you broke down how many hours would be needed per year for Sebastopol and Windsor at $15 an hour. So there's 69 meeting hours in a year at Sebastopol, which would net us $1,035 after paying a access assistant to go out there and film it. And that's straight up, not counting mileage or things like that.
And what's the billing amount for that? $1,000?
Is it 1,172? Can you come over here and show me the numbers?
Sorry.
Sorry, I just want to be clear before I say something.
Mhm.
This is how many hours that would cost, that's how much the access system
Yes,
would
there,
paid.
there would be that many meetings for that
Right.
city at that hour. Yes, that is correct. That's not mileage, but that is correct.
Right,
And the calculations are here.
Right.
You know, for what we would then charge them.
got it, thank you.
Okay.
Good job, Patty was here. So Sebastopol at $90 an hour. So to provide one access assistant, we would charge $90 an hour. That's a hypothetical we spoke about, or you guys spoke about in the last board meeting. That would be $1,172 for us. But if we had to have two people, it would bump up to $160 an hour. And by two people, which is pretty common, especially the past few weeks with Patty having to go to Runner Park to fill in, or if there's a tech issue and she has to go check, that means there's two people on at one time. Which is something else we can discuss too when we get to the Runner Park part. That's Sebastopol, and then if it's two people, it's $160 an hour. The Windsor would be $90 an hour at 66, so that'd be five. Can I ask you another question? This is less hours? Why is it so much more?
This is Windsor, if we charge them 90 an
Mhm.
hour, if we charge
Right.
them 160. This is if we have 3 meetings at Windsor at 90, 3 meetings. They have planning, park and rec,
I got
and
you.
city
I
council.
got it.
So
Okay.
that's only 1 meeting.
Got it. So Sebastopol's one meeting, Windsor has 3 that we could possibly be recording. So if you want to take, I sent you that information earlier today. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the issue. I know it got into it a little bit in the last board meeting about the why we should and why we shouldn't type of things. So that we would be not getting a huge amount of money. And it also depends on where the person recording the meetings was coming from. If we hired somebody out of Santa Rosa to do it, their mileage would be way less than if, we sent somebody in. But on the flip side, Patty oversees all those meetings, and if she had to go, it would not only possibly impact her weekly schedule on how many hours she's given a week, plus the drive time, plus the mileage on her car, which takes, that's a pretty good, Petaluma to Sebastopol and Petaluma to Windsor was like a 4-minute difference or something like that, but it's still a good 20, 25-minute drive.
Why wouldn't we be charging Sebastopol that mileage?
I guess it could figure into,
Like average it and then now it's $100
it's not so
an hour?
much the mileage and the cost of the mileage, it's the cost of having Patty out of the office and having to rearrange her entire schedule if something goes wrong and having to go all the way to Windsor or Sebastopol at the last minute.
Well, we're talking about potentially hiring, for example, 2 people that would cover each meeting, which would be ideal so that Patty doesn't have to do that.
That would be.
And so my
Yeah.
question is then wouldn't we just include the mileage or the average mileage within the hourly?
And build that into that? Yeah, that would be my guess. Question from the public?
Mileage can only be claimed by an employee if they leave the office to go to the job. If they go from their home to the job, they can't claim mileage.
Oh.
No, because you could just still calculate it from the office to the job.
They can't
Every
claim
time.
from their house to the office. If you go from your house to the job, you can, at least you used to be able to. Might want to check with the bookkeeper on what.
I mean, I feel,
A couple of different scenarios. If you're going from your house to a job site to the office, I think you can claim some and not the other, or both, I don't know.
Well, it's like all travel that's not a commute, right?
Yeah, you cannot claim commute,
Yeah.
but we can bill for whatever we want.
right. I mean, like, I know there's a way around where you can have a P.O. box. If you stop at the post office, then that's your office, it starts there. But, I mean, that's not really, I feel strange coming into this because you guys have been discussing it for 2 or 3 months. So I'm just trying to present what we have. I'm not sure, like, what people are wanting, overall, it's a little, if it was a great way, an opportunity to make more money, I would be for it, but it seems like it's not that much money for kind of a lot of potential work. But I also, there's a lot of ins and outs too. I hear, hold a second. For instance, what equipment they have is gonna matter. That's not our responsibility to maintain their equipment. I know there's been a lot of problems. And is it Runner Park is the one that goes directly into Vimeo, and there's been all kinds of problems that are related to that, and it's been somewhat unclear on who's supposed to take care of that stuff. And it seems to me that they should take care of it. Our access assistant should show up, film it, and then that's all we do. So that needs to be clarified too. And
Unless we charge extra for taking care of stuff.
but then that's a whole, I mean, yeah, it's. Dana?
There are billable hours attached to any one of these jobs. We shouldn't be doing it at a loss. There should be a way for us to make money.
Yeah.
We're required to do it ourselves at a loss in Petaluma.
Right,
Because it's our town.
right.
But if others are approaching us, that's why we came to the idea and understanding that we would boost the hourly so that it was not a money-losing proposition. And it was really never about losing Patty out of the office. It's just been a period of transition. And what Domenica said was, we would designate and run it as a business out of KPCA or PCA
Mhm.
and do it as such.
Yeah,
And again, not at a loss. So here we go again. You say it may not be viable.
right.
Charge more.
Charge more or tell us why we should make a decision not to move ahead.
If they will, if we set a rate that does make it viable, and they choose not to take it, that's different. But, you know, we're kind of, I think we kind of agreed or felt last month that we're kind of.
Right, and here's another thing that, sorry, go ahead.
They were the 800-pound gorilla in that market,
Yeah,
so to speak.
here's the other thing that came up, and John spoke to me about this. We're about to renegotiate with Runner Park and just bump them up $10 an hour. What if someone from Runner Park was like, oh, we pay 70, the guy from Windsor's like, they're charging us 250, why are they gouging us? You know, I don't wanna get
No,
into
we
it.
have to have the same between all cities.
Or,
Then-
But if we do
then
that, so right
then
now,
becomes a bust.
right now, Runner
it
Park is
depends on the
paying.
date the contract was issued
Yeah,
too.
Right, everybody negotiates, so
Yeah.
It
there's
doesn't have to
time.
be the same, it could be like, well, this was a community that has been with us and this is our new rate.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be increased until they're at that rate. I mean, it happens all the time.
This
And
is
guess what, you'll get those phone calls.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a dog in this fight, I wanna make I wanna make us money.
I just agree with Tim that we have the edge up, so why not charge $200 an hour and say, hey, look, it's gonna be $100 an hour for one person, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And if they say, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm throwing out a
Yeah, no, an
number,
arbitrary number, yeah.
but I'm just saying, but if that's
That's an
it.
arbitrary exorbitant.
I'm
That's
just
really
saying.
exorbitant.
I'm just saying,
Let's go with it.
is 150 more reasonable? I don't know, I mean, you know what I mean, like, just say, videographers charge at least $150 an hour.
Yeah,
So
good
I'm
luck
just-
finding somebody for less than that.
So that's what I'm just saying, it's like,
Yeah.
why can't we just go in and say $150 an hour, take it or leave it by?
That's a good comparison.
That's-
An independent videographer might be.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
It is.
But I still maintain that, like, there's been an issue this week with Patty's schedule where she had to go somewhere and then it affects the rest of the week where she can't go over X amount of hours because you're adding basically an hour of drive time if you're, 30 minutes there, she lives in Petaluma, 30 minutes back, which is an hour out of the week in the office. And that's just if something goes wrong. I mean, everything can be smooth sailing. I mean,
So you gotta pay your employee overtime if they go over 40 hours.
How often are you having to cover for access assistance? Is it a lot?
So I just started in June, and I got a great group, and I had 9, and everything was running smoothly until the end of the semester. And so this is the first time that I had graduation, I had people leaving, so of those I lost 4. And so then I'm down to 5, and I have 4 meetings on a Tuesday. See, so right now, I have, it looks like a lot of people, but because of their schedules, right now what's happened, it's been winter break and Christmas, and 2 of the 5 disappeared because they had winter recess and they went away for the holidays. So then I've been covering because I don't have anybody else. But I have put in to both Sonoma and Santa Rosa. We're on the job board. I've already updated them. I've made calls. I've asked them if they have friends. Like, I've really been very aggressive since November because I didn't want to have any loss. And I have gotten nobody except radio interns, which I need paid TV assistants or even TV interns, and I haven't gotten that. So I don't know if that's, in the springtime is the better time. I don't know why I'm not getting anybody right now, even though I've been very aggressive about looking for people.
Okay, and then during summer break, John, we have a shortage also, correct?
I think Patty's covered 2 meetings this year already. She's had to
In
go
the
to
second
the
week of the
fire.
This year, 2019?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
And do you think that this is because there's no incentives for people? Or it's just that we're recruiting students and that's what you get with students?
There are 2 things.
Okay.
Because I tried to figure out what this was, and I actually have been looking for an adult, not that they're adults, but a more
Non-student,
mature person for the position, and I've had no success as of yet. I've started that since July to try to find someone like me that really enjoyed taping meetings for 2 years. So the individuals are coming, many of them are communication and film majors, and so they can't get into some of these classes, so they come to us because then they get really good practical experience, what they can't do in school because they can't get in. The problem is the major classes are always on Tuesday nights for communication and film people. That's the night that all the cities have all their meetings, so that I actually have enough people. You look on the board and say, well, you've got plenty of people, except they're not
Except Tuesday
available on
night.
Tuesdays, except for 4 people. So if one person is sick or one person goes away or whatever, I have to be on the cover. Add 2 more cities, and I don't have the people right now, and so I have to. So I thought about popping in like at job fairs, or putting it more out there, on more sites, for being even more aggressive. And I'm open to any suggestions or ideas where I can be looking for people, because I'd like to have a buffer. I like when I had the 9, like I felt real good about that. And
Have we put them on the TV bulletin board, recruitment messages?
I can. I have not done that. I've only done the radio.
Tell all the radio guys to do it, read a couple of sentences, and then we have it on social media, I imagine, yeah.
Sure.
Well, I wonder if we, and I think this is a bigger conversation, but getting the hourly up is if we had someone on call that we knew for sure was available on Tuesdays and give them a higher hourly.
Because they're getting 15 an hour now, right?
Yes.
But if we charge someone more, like Sebastopol or Windsor, we could bump up that rate too, but it's still, yeah.
You put it up to $20 an hour, $25 an hour, you're gonna get people jumping.
Yeah, 15 is a little more. Okay.
What if we're charging $200 an hour?
It's not my money.
Yeah.
No, but Domenica, you did offer at a previous meeting that we would actually hire. We're taking from a volunteer pool. So now we offered,
Well, the access
No, the access
assistants,
is-
They're paid, yeah.
they're paid so they work for us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but not just for that job.
I mean, they do a variety of things, yeah,
Are you done with,
Yeah, is
okay,
this
so I'm
clear?
gonna take public comment, because I think John probably has something to offer.
Yes.
I wanted to add something. Who's your contact at Windsor?
I haven't talked to them, I just got this broken down for me.
Okay, because the contact that I had at Windsor is not there anymore.
Oh.
He announced his moving on somewhere else earlier this week, yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know, did we speak to anybody there specifically? I know we're meeting with Roner Park, that gentleman Dave or David.
Right. I've never spoken to anybody at Windsor. It was an email that came in.
Came from, we got some notice from Tim, and
Yeah,
So we should talk about that
it's a
offline.
faceless person. So
Oh,
public.
he was a nice guy.
Anyone
Where
for
is it?
public
It's
comment?
just
Oh,
not there.
Richard?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask, since we've done research on the cost to us, based on the information that we could get, what now are we gonna do with setting a price? Are you going to go back and then take another look at the situation? And
Yeah.
with the outlook that we want to make money on this and not have this be a pain in the neck,
Yeah,
and then bring it back to the board again.
if that's what's preferred, I would prefer to do it that way, so we're all on the same page. I don't know if we can afford to wait another month. I mean,
You know, we're gonna lose these customers.
we're the only game in town, I mean, I know.
Are they missing meetings because we're not acting?
They have used the wrong people to staff the meetings, from what I understand, the IT manager and stuff like that.
What I'd like to do is go to these people and have a sit down, but I don't wanna go in there with half the information, you
Yeah.
know? I should just go face to face and be like, what do you need, what are, like, the issue we're having in Runner Park is like, what's your situation with your technical, you know, like, what are we on the line for, what are we dealing with, is it gonna be an issue, you know, I mean, Runner Park, or is it, one of them's going straight to a laptop onto Vimeo Live, and then re-exporting that out, which is, you know. it works.
Sebastopol.
What's that?
That's Sebastopol.
Sebastopol, yeah,
Yeah, so Cotati and Runner Park have
Granicus.
similar stuff to ours.
Granicus type stuff, or they have a.
Well, I know Runner Park has Granicus, I don't know if Cotati,
Cool.
Cotati does too.
Well, I think that you should meet with them because we're kind of shooting in the dark right now. You
Yeah.
don't know what we're considering before. I mean, for me, it would be meet with them, see what they need, and then we can come back and say, this is the hourly that would be required, and this would be a maintenance fee that would be required because their equipment is X, Y, and Z, and that's my preference, and then, so we can like make a decision next month.
So are you organized enough to go out and make?
Yeah, no, I am, yeah, I feel good, yeah, at least I can pigeon, you know, like,
Based on what we discussed here?
figure out like what they're thinking and what they're looking at, and their attitude about the whole thing, and if they're working off some, you know, small like modem dial-up or something. I don't wanna put a burden on Patty or put a burden on our access assistants where they have outdated equipment, but it sounds like Tim's saying they have pretty similar.
I know Cotati and Runner Park are on a par with us. I don't know, I think Windsor is close.
It's on
And
Granicus.
Windsor there too?
Yes.
So they've got to be comparable, but you say
Not Sebastopol.
Sebastopol just it captures it to a laptop. That's around the state, that's considered the lowest budget option. You know, grab it, put it on video capture card, store it, and then upload it to YouTube.
Right, yeah, it's like
Or
10 years
video,
old.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to look into it, I just wanna know what everybody's thinking.
So in public meetings, just capturing the video, storing it, and uploading it doesn't achieve the purpose of a Granicus type solution. There are other products, but what they do, they actually become the official meeting record. So
Yeah.
they're gonna have timestamps and index points and the votes, yes, no, the roll calls, and all kinds of useful information when you capture that meeting that way. It's not just a video. So
Yeah, no, it can be used, yeah, it's like a legal document.
It's pretty rich content.
Yeah,
So do we make a motion?
Well, we haven't had a public comment yet.
Okay.
Yeah, please, John.
Do you have anything to add to this, John?
I could only add to the incentive that you brought up. These people are gonna make at the most 10 hours a month, because we have a pool, and they get dispersed to do the jobs. A meeting could go 30 minutes or 3 hours, they get to claim that time, plus setup and closing. But we have a number of people, and we have the meetings spread out, so one person would do 2 or 3 hours a week. Somebody might do no hours. So there isn't really a financial incentive. This is a hands-on experience for students. They get a little cash, and they get a lot of respect and training. So that's the exchange. We have one access assistant, Naomi, who is not available for any of the meetings, but she's doing a lot of work at the office, and we were using that with Jared. The budget line is in the payroll under access assistance, and I've been doing it at like 12 hours a week, and I've never overspent. So that is the budget, annual budget for that payroll, and they're paid $15 an hour. If you paid them 20, it might have some rumbling in the staff, because some staff aren't paid that much either. So you have to be aware of that spectrum, where they fit. We used to do it with volunteers. Now it's been working quite well with the staff we have. The only other thing I'd add is that this is a different kind of relationship than we have with our members. It's a client relationship where if one of our student access assistants doesn't record it, and we have egg on our face, and we are technically responsible to make it up. We've had to do that with technical errors at City Hall in Petaluma, where we've had to go to Granicus, get the file, rip it, burn it back, and get it in. There is a lot of follow-up obligations with this kind of relationship that's different than with the membership.
Okay, I have one more question for Patty, and that is this gonna add to your workload and impact your ability to do other work?
Adding 2 cities would definitely increase the amount of time that I would need to spend on it. It's not just going to the meetings, obviously that takes time when I have to physically go there myself, and the training. It's the scheduling actually takes
Right,
the greatest
I-
amount of my time.
I've seen you working on those, and that's why I'm asking, because it's not fair to increase Patty's workload if we're not going to give her more hours to do that. And in order to do that, we have to make enough money to pay access assistants and to pay Patty as well, so.
Absolutely.
So at Dominic's
It's gonna have to be that-
150, I think it covers.
So back to 200, all right.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely go meet with those two different people, and, you know, I'll be able to report back
Okay.
on their needs, and I'll have a clear breakdown.
okay, so you have some ammo.
Yeah,
to-
this is all new, because you guys, it's a previous conversation I'm walking into too,
Right.
so I'm kinda like, you know, falling around in the dark a little bit.
But you've got the ammunition now to,
Perfect. Yeah,
When you say you're gonna meet with those two people, do you mean Windsor and Sebastopol?
correct.
Oh, okay.
We're meeting with Runner Park next week already, just to re-up our,
Perfect.
we're gonna bump them up $10.
yeah, I don't think we need to vote on anything, but just as a straw poll, is everybody agreeable to this?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
So maybe motion.
So you have direction?
Motion to, yeah, thank you, motion to like, I'm not gonna make a motion, but to put it on the agenda for next week,
Yeah,
So it should be on the agenda for next week,
our next meeting.
okay, great,
as old business still?
yeah, yes.
Continued.
TBC.
Are we ready to move on to 10C? Discussion of possible action on committee appointments. Boy, I wish Jason was here so we could have all been able to take a look at this, but to Judy's point earlier, outreach and fund development and events committee is still not real clear on who's responsible for what. Either you or Dominica said, I don't remember, but anyway,
It was a dual,
we
it
need to
was a
handle
dual
this out
commentary.
again. What's
I
that?
said it was a dual commentary.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
feels so. I mean, it feels like it's an umbrella, to my mind, it would almost make more sense to be outreach and then fundraising events, instead of how we did it, which is outreach, fundraising, and events as a separate committee. I mean, maybe we're talking semantics and none of it matters, but I think there seems to be a lot of confusion going on with who and how we are dealing with it, so.
I agree, and I am still of the mindset that outreach is, we hired somebody to be the outreach coordinator, and it never turned into that. And so I think we had already identified that outreach is a PCA staff responsibility. How do you remember that conversation, John? That was a couple of years ago.
I didn't have another staff member for the cities, and when we took on the other cities, that fell to that person, and that became a major part of their workload.
Right, but at the time, we agreed we needed somebody to be an outreach coordinator, and I kind of still feel that way.
Oh,
I don't feel like it should be a board committee. I think it's tell me if I'm wrong here. I think,
Well, and that's what my thought was in the last agenda item, is that, and I'm not taking this away if you really love doing it, but we should just have someone that manages the access assistants, we should have someone that does outreach. And I know it's hard to staff people at like 10 hours a week or 5 hours a week or whatever it'd be, just to have someone manage the access assistants, but that's in my mind.
What does the outreach position entail? I mean, what's the,
going out and
Doing outreach.
uh,
I mean, it seems
Getting
clear
sponsors?
that should clearly fall to me in my
sponsors.
position. That
We
should-
need sponsors.
But shouldn't
We
that
need
clearly
money
be an
so that we
executive?
can.
I mean, if I'm supposed to be like the executive director and the face of PCA, shouldn't that fall to me to be the outreach person that's going out there to try and get this?
There you
Not
go.
only,
You got
It
it.
sounds.
Yes,
We
but
can have
you
it.
only
But
have so many hours.
I know, but it's a
So-
priority, so it's also.
Yes, and I think the goal here, in my mind, is that
He's good.
you're so good at going out there and finding people to give us money as sponsors, that we can hire Patty an assistant, and we can take on every city in the county if we want
That's
to.
kind of what I was thinking is, what if we took one of the, if not the better access assistant, and gave him a little bit of raise and call him the access assistant supervisor that could at least help with scheduling. You may give him an extra some hours a week.
We gotta make the money first, we gotta
Right.
get some money somewhere.
Yeah, well, there is that.
well, if we're
Yeah.
charging $200 an hour, that was the other
Yeah.
option.
Even at 90,
It's
I think
50 million, we should just.
I think
No, but I think, I mean, in terms of, I think there's so, just in the week and a half I've been here, 2 weeks. There's a lot of things that are just spread all over, and I'm hearing you guys talk about committees that are spread out and are kind of like stepping on each other's toes. I think we should really just streamline things. And I know I'm part-time, and I'm not, angling for more hours or something like that, but it seems like, why hire an executive director if I can't be the outreach person and the point person who's going to these meetings and meeting potential, underwriters, getting sponsorship money and things like that? It just makes sense to me
Right.
to be a major part of the position.
Fundraising is a board responsibility. You can go to any website that gives you directions on how to operate a nonprofit, and it will say fundraising falls on the board of
Absolutely.
directors.
Well, how I had conceived it before was outreach and events, and then fund development as a separate category. And the rationale is that it needed to be some sort of a steering committee that helped work with the executive director, given the limited amount of hours, since we cut their hours, to help in that process. Outreach, again, it's semantics. Outreach and events, the reason we had separated out was so to be very clear that the events committee, for example, approves events that come through and really focuses on that, where fund development is more of that broader thing. And I get fund development is a board job, but then the board also needs some sort of direction. And that was how I had thought it to be. And not necessarily the same members, like these two right now. I think we split it out that way just because we split the committee, so it's ended up being the same people on both committees. Maybe we don't need the outreach and fund development and just get rid of it. I don't know.
Well, Don did mention that he's willing to do the outreach and sees it as part of his job. He's different than John. He's gonna do it a different way. The underwriting is something we're already in committee, and we already have a committee that's working on that will be working with Don. Anyway,
Who's doing underwriting?
Rob and myself. 3 meetings ago, you appointed me to go with Rob, and we've been working on underwriting and collating information.
Okay.
There's no place for me to even
Well, that could be
report.
fund development.
Wait a minute, let me finish. There's no place even here for me to report that the committee that you created me to be part of is actually functioning, and will be meeting with Dawn on January 24th to move ahead in underwriting.
And the
Well,
committee
what do
wasn't
we-
created. There was no committee created. And that's something that could fall under fund development. That's what I'm saying. Those pieces where Don, there's no way in 24 hours you're able
Right.
to deal with all these nuts and bolts. So that's, again, the rationale is that the underwriting, that would be the fund development committee. Now, it's news to me that this is a committee, because it's not a committee. It could be a steering committee, perhaps, it's assisting, but it's not a committee on our agenda,
What do you want to
as
call
of
it?
right now.
Do you want us to continue to function?
That's not what I just said.
What do you want to call it?
That's the question right now. Is that the kind of stuff that falls under the fund development committee? Are we getting rid
If
of
I
the
could
fund
chime in
development?
too, I think just from being on other boards and being around them, it seems like a funding committee would be people who plan the bigger events, like the Envelope Please, the Lagunitas event, things like that. If we added something else, Crab Feed or whatever other nonprofits do, that's more like, that's not really outreach, that's
And
planning, and
That's how the outreach committee was born, was out of
see, that doesn't
the need
strike
for a
me-
steering committee.
outreach strikes me as like me going to the downtown association and meeting people and saying, hey, we're looking for underwriters, or, things like that. That's just the way I've always seen it.
But outreach is marketing as well, so it's not just 100% you, it's
Yeah.
Friday's doing it as well, and
We're all
again,
working together, yeah.
again, the reason that, how I remember it going down was that the events committee was created to focus on events. We have way more than just outreach and fund development through events, we have underwriting plans, we have sponsorships that need to happen, so it was a group of people that were really focused and then could bring back to the board and help bring to you, like, this is the priorities we need to have. Like, it's not that they're taking it away from you, but obviously we have people working on an underwriting plan, that should be a committee, so that they're reporting out. So we have no report of this underwriting plan that's happening. So that was the rationale of separating out the events committee. Yes, that is fundraising, that is fund development, but there is a separation because of all these other fund development aspects that have to be, and they were dragging. Like,
We need to
nothing was
streamline,
happening.
yeah.
So
Yes.
that was the rationale, and that's how I see it, and I still think there is space for both of these. I don't think it's outreach and fund development, I think it's fund development and events.
Yeah, and underwriting, isn't that in Rob's job description?
He's got to administer it, but it's another one of those client relationships where the board is engaging with an outside source to deliver a service for a certain amount of money. If you say, give us $1,000, we'll give you 300 thank yous on air, you gotta count those 300, so there is work. If I could just back up to the name game, it was the outreach and development. And it really didn't function for either really until we got TEP, and then it became a very useful committee to build the TEP.
Right.
And when it became apparent that we really need a steering committee at the board level for fundraising strategies that can then delegate and guide, underwriting would fit into that. So yeah, I think throw away the word outreach and have a fund development and events. Now the events could be a subcommittee of the fund development because they're the ones that roll up their sleeves and do it, but you need a steering committee to figure out what you're gonna do. I think the fewer people on that, the better.
Well, I think events could be big. That's why I like them separated out, because I think the events committee could be that bigger group of people that really want to get on the ground and do those and improve events and make sure that that's my rationale behind it. Well, I mean, not huge. I'm not saying like 20 people. That would be too many, but so far it's been larger.
If I could just throw in one more piece before
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
finish on that. I think it would be great to reactivate or renew and dynamize the members committee, because that's where you could have 20 people come in and become volunteers, each given a job, and they do it. But to give them a job, you need a clear picture and a director, and I think that director should have more board involvement. Dana, you've always said that at the outreach meeting, where's everybody else? Well, if you had too many people, you wouldn't get anything done. The members committee is where everybody else should be, and that needs to be.
I'd like to have the problem that we have too many people.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had that problem yet.
No, but get up.
Yeah, I'd like to have that problem as well. And then,
And Domenica, one thing that was left out of the mix of, under outreach was we created the function of the pop-ups and going out on the street, which Richard was part of last year, and we had those. We went out, we functioned. Now we have the gear to do it. Where does that fall?
Events.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the idea.
Well, now I'm confused because the outreach committee is the one that looks at the applications for these pop-ups.
Right, that was before we separated it, so that's part of the conversation is it's just a name, so where does things go?
Outreach is gonna disappear
You-
after this
you
meeting,
know,
correct? We're just
I-
gonna drop that name.
I don't know, that's what we're talking about.
I think this requires a more in-depth conversation that's gonna take more time than we can really allow.
This is
in
like a
meeting.
board retreat kind of.
I think this is a
situation,
retreat,
Well, that's like next month, right?
It's coming up, so yeah, I mean,
well, we
pretty
need to talk
impeccable
about
timing.
How do we function with the committees that have not been able to meet because we've been trying to nail down a band for our May 20th event, and other bands are getting interested in doing future events. The May 20th event is our big event we were gonna use the mailer to tell, and so we've lost 7 weeks.
I'm not saying that we should drop the events committee right now. I think we should leave it as is.
So we call it events.
And it's those events that you and
Okay.
Phil and Judy work on. It's not the pop-up events.
There's only 2 of us now.
it's okay.
Did Phil confirm that
I
he's,
have not heard that.
He's
Maybe I'll
not
listen.
he answered my email over Christmas. I've asked him, can he meet?
And I just emailed him to see if he's interested
okay,
at all.
so
It's
you
just
need,
the 2 of us right
so what do you need for events committee to work?
now. It'd be nice if we had another 6 people to get involved with us.
A few people would be helpful, but I think just to be able to meet, and I don't take this personal, but you and I just meeting about what we think we're gonna do isn't quite enough.
No, we
We need to hammer
and we
out
wanna
the finances, we need to hammer out so much stuff about this that,
And that you've asked that if we gonna do these actioning committees, that we actually report to the board. We haven't been able to even report. It's been impromptu.
I mean-
I'd like us to,
we can report where we're at so far, and I think we should, but at the same time, I'm in agreement with that. It's right now, it's just sort of, it feels like we just ripped up some papers and threw them in the air, and that's no disrespect to anything or anyone, it's just, they haven't all fallen neatly into the puzzle space yet, and we need to make that happen, because if we're trying to do this thing in May, it's a lot of work. I mean, actually, a lot of the work isn't even from us, because they take care of a lot of it, and I just know we need to make sure we're clear and above board with everything that we're going to do, that we said we're gonna do.
Okay,
So it's not
so the events committee, I'm not on the events committee, I know.
You mentioned you that didn't
Yeah.
be.
I wanted
That's
to
fine.
be involved with outreach.
Yeah.
And I still do, and then you've lost Dennis, unless Dennis wants to stay on that committee.
He
as
said
a-
no.
He
I asked
said
him
no,
today.
okay.
He's out.
Yeah, he said he's kind of done.
Okay, so, then we need to figure out who's gonna sit on what committee here. Did, Jason say what committee he wanted to be on?
I haven't talked to him.
I think
Because he showed up at our,
he did mention he was interested in helping with events, but I don't wanna put any words in his mouth.
yeah,
So
I don't wanna appoint him
I would
yet.
love for him to be with us, that'd be awesome, but
So, suggestions on getting your event to float?
how do you mean, just
I mean,
people-wise,
he-
manpower, or just informational?
I mean, what do you need? That's what I'm trying to figure
I
out, is
think
what do you
that's-
need so that you can do your work?
I think we need.
I need more bodies, but I can't do
Okay.
it. Does anybody else wanna?
What we need is
Jump
a
in?
clear idea of our financial situation that we have for it, first of all. What it entails, because having a band to me is not the end all of this whole thing. And I think we do need to kind of clarify where we're at with that, because to be honest, the number I heard scares me, and I think it's over the top, and I have to be honest about that.
So you need seed
That's all.
money that will be paid back once you had the event and you bring
theoretically,
money
that's-
back.
Yes.
Okay,
And that was part of a discussion we had at the outreach. We were shifting the TEP and the TEP financials into getting a band, sell the tickets, make the money back, and make the money from the beer sales, as well as t-shirt sales, live auction, all the above.
And so part of, I think, maybe our communication hiccup is that TEP money that we were using, I understood to be for the overall event, not just one thing. And I think that's what stunned me today a little bit. So that's what I'm trying to have clarified, because we need to make sure we got food for people. I mean, I've never been to one of these where there wasn't food and there wasn't something besides music, and often the music was bad. I think if things work out the way the idea is that it should work out, is that we're thinking that, yeah, I don't even know, so.
Dawn, is it something that, could you meet with the two of us?
I'd love to, yeah. I have a background in this type of thing. I think there is some stressful things to think about, but I also think there's also, the infrastructure's there. We have a place, we have the soundboard, we have the place, I mean,
That's the least of
Lagunitas.
the issue.
well, we should talk about it too. The other issue that seems to be happening is there's a lot of cross-pollination where people are like, I thought you were gonna get so-and-so, and then, no, I got so-and-so, and then, you
I'd
know.
like to take your lead on it. She and I are invested in making this happen.
Yes.
And there's gotta be a way too. I mean, I've managed bands. They don't always charge full price for benefit concerts,
Okay.
especially if they're local.
I think they're not local, and that's what we need to hash out, and so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
in
I'm happy to,
agreement,
yeah.
and I,
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love
yeah,
to.
so we need to probably
Yeah.
have the discussion offline.
Well, and what if you guys met and then you put out a larger, like, we're planning this event and we want, so like the financials stay internal, 'cause it's kind of operational, but then you send out an email even to a bunch of people and say, hey, we're planning this event, we need bodies.
Yeah, no, and I think once we get that part, that will happen.
Because it's time for us to
As
start
long as
getting
we show
tenders
up,
and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dominic, needed people for his thing Friday night, and he found a way to get them. He got volunteer bartenders and things like that. It's doable.
Yeah, oh, I'm not worried about that
Okay,
aspect of
do you
it.
wanna call us and?
Yeah,
set
put
that up?
together, yeah.
I'll make myself available.
Cool.
Likewise.
So we have a committee now, it's called events, and you have a big event
Yes,
in the works,
indeed.
right? And
But this
so,
is-
getting back to terminology, is that satisfactory to everybody, that this is
It's an
the
event.
events committee?
For right now.
I think for now that makes sense, because that's really the label that it is. It was getting confusing with the outreach portion of it, and I think that confused a lot of people. So now that we sort of streamline that, I think it's, forward is the only way to go, and outreach is partly you, kind of all of us in a way, when we think about it, if you look at the full picture, but at the same time, I mean, there's gotta be a spearhead out.
And not to belabor this conversation too, but I mean, if you're doing outreach, we don't want like 3 different people hitting up the same person, and that's a huge issue. It looks
It's
incredibly
huge.
unprofessional and rinky-dink when you're
Absolutely.
doing that, so there has to be some kind of protocol.
But no, I'm with you.
And then in terms of underwriting, that discussion is, I think I'm working with you, Rob's working with you.
We're doing the webinar
You-
next week, yeah.
You report, you're the
Sure.
ED.
Okay.
Is that fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just volunteering to be on a committee that's underwriting.
Good.
Well,
And you'll
It's not a
report?
committee.
yeah, it's not a committee, it's a,
I'll bring it to
it's
the
an
board.
action.
Whatever you're doing.
It's a, yeah, it's an ED action.
Got it. It's an ED action.
Perfect. Yes, it should be too, yeah.
Cool.
Okay, what's that, Judy?
We got a public comment.
Oh, not again.
No, I think it's part of the minutes from the last meeting, actually,
John,
John.
public
Real
comment.
quick, I think one of the problems is when you moved the executive committee to where the outreach meeting was, you didn't create another set standing meeting time.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
absolutely.
Well, as soon as you do that, you can send out the call and invite new volunteers to
Yep.
come to it.
And
And I
that's
think that
what
would be something to accomplish
Yes,
tonight.
and we said that, said as much at the executive committee meeting, that tonight, before we leave this meeting, we are
Yes.
going to set dates and times for all committees, and also, for your benefit, Dawn, the executive committee, the finance committee, the nominating committee, are all standing committees for our bylaws. They require written agendas and written minutes, and the agendas do have to be posted for the benefit of meeting requirements of the Brown Act. So when you said you had a nominating meeting, I didn't know about that because it really needed to be posted. And it has to be an agenda and it has to be posted
Well, and weren't
72 hours in advance.
Weren't we asking also that all meetings have agendas and minutes? They don't need
Yes.
to be posted, but if they don't
Yes.
fall under the standing with every
Right.
single,
What about a discussion?
On
it's
this,
not a meeting then.
So
this is in the bylaws.
disregard what I said, and Richard and I,
Discussion.
as members of the nominating committee, had a discussion. And then, since I understand what you just said, we would need to notify and report on a discussion and come to the board.
If it was a meeting, yeah.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. We had a discussion, to be clear.
I wasn't finished, because I wanted to follow that once you get the scheduled meeting for this, whatever you call it, events, that group, that committee needs to function for butter and eggs, a signature event that replaces TEP. It has to be kind of broad, so that when you actually have a May 20th event, you can have a subcommittee or a working group take that project and run, but you need a core group that will field the proposals and the options, make the decisions, and take, Naomi's request to do this event. It's a small-time thing, you vet it, that committee says this, she's done all her homework and got all the crew she needs, it's good.
Yeah.
But you need that kind of functioning group to take it off of the board, so
Well,
that
now, I thought
No.
I thought that,
Fine, I'll see the pants.
I'm positive that TEP is was a board-sponsored signature event.
and you want to create another one.
I don't want to throw it to the events committee.
Okay, well, that's a question of how you design the structure.
Right.
But you need a standing group that can deal with the whole year's.
So when this board decides on a signature event, which I'm hoping we can do soon, we can have a steering committee for that. It's just a one-time committee until the event
Yeah.
occurs, and then
Yeah.
it goes away.
Jesus, take the wheel, man.
Have we totally confused you yet?
I'm committed out again.
I know.
We're gonna work it out, it's gonna be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm holding
He's
the
got the
really
wheel now,
tight.
though, so.
We'll read the script for you.
It'll be
We'll
clear.
read the map for you.
Let me get my glasses.
Yes.
It'll be clear when it's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, real quick, can we let Patty go home?
Oh, anytime.
Yeah, she wants.
Patty, I'm sorry. Oh,
I
Sorry,
thought
Patty.
I thought you were staying because you wanted to be with
You're like,
us.
this is so exciting.
Sorry,
Thank you
Patty.
for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
At least say you had a good time.
Even if
I
it's-
did want to,
entertaining.
before you leave, I had a brief conversation with Patty about being the staff liaison to the Policies and Procedures Committee, if that's agreeable with you.
Is it agreeable with you? We can talk about it. It's agreeable with me if it's okay with Patty.
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
I'd like to
Okay.
know more about what that is.
Yeah, it's kind of what
Good
you're
answer.
already doing, you're kind of doing the work that we used to do in the past, and that's the door access code is an example of what Policies and Procedures
That's a
Committee
branding
used to work
policy.
on.
Well,
So-
look at the ringer we just put those two through, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, think about that for now. No, I think you're already doing it like Cindy
How's
said,
that?
but yeah, I'll talk to you more about it. I don't wanna make you do, or make you, or ask you to do something.
Sure, I think tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Patty.
you, thank you very
I
much.
just realized.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks,
Pat.
Pat. I just realized the
Thank
whole
you.
fund development events committee thing is on the agenda.
What's that?
It's on the agenda, 11E, but we already talked about it, so we can.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can just say we already talked about it, right?
Well, it's kind of an overlap, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it'll go on new business next week.
So, okay, let's go back to committee appointments. On committee appointments, if everybody looking at this, and with the exception of events committee, I think this is how it all stands as far as who participates in what. Events should just read Dana and Judy at this point, unless somebody wants to jump on, like you, Tim. You want on, don't you?
No.
Okay. All right, so,
You can do the pop-ups, you wanna jump on that?
Yeah, if that's where it's gonna go.
what?
If pop-ups are moving over that, I know that's Richard's,
KPCA on the street pop-up events.
if they're any.
It's unclear to me
That's
where
where the
where
outreach
that's gonna
versus-
be.
It,
On the
it
street.
seems to me it's outreach.
We need to
It-
figure
it
that,
seems
I
to
think,
me
I think
it's-
that's a board retreat, kinda, we should really hunker down at that thing and just hammer the stuff out. I don't know if we have, I mean, we can't do it in 90 minutes, you know?
Well, I said that, and I
No, you're
got
right.
dirty looks.
Oh, from who?
Not for me, I'm looking over my glasses. Oh,
It's like you said-
Anyway,
Cindy can't take it seriously, you're fine.
No, he thinks
I agree, I mean, that does get the squirrely, that gets us in the squirrely realm of squirrels.
Yeah.
We could have like,
I mean,
this
I
board
think
retreat,
we
we have
do-
like a whiteboard, we could write stuff,
I-
be like,
I would like for you to come up with an outreach plan to
okay.
present to us.
On like what I wanna do with
Do
it.
you agree? Do you guys agree?
Yes.
Okay.
So, 80,000 for me, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need an outreach plan, is what I said. I think
Yes.
we need an outreach plan before we can decide
Okay.
how,
Yeah.
No, I miss.
where
I
it
mean, I'll need a
fits.
little bit of hand-holding on it, like what you're thinking and what you're looking for, but I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
So is that a
We-
discussion
she's
for?
happy with it.
But Don, we really don't wanna lose momentum with the events committee, because we do have
An
a May
event coming.
20th
Yeah.
and a butter and eggs that we haven't even talked about.
Okay,
That's in April, that comes before.
And pop-ups all over the place.
okay. We got this, everybody?
Okay.
So should that be on new business for next month, an outreach plan, or
Or should I just go to the retreat?
that'd be cool,
First.
do I have to take minutes at the retreat?
I'm of the mindset that butter and egg should be like our signature event, that it should just be a steering committee and not go into any of these, but
Yeah,
We need to check.
It's ad hoc committee is the technical word.
what's that?
Ad hoc
Yeah.
committee is the way you're looking for.
I'm just weary of adding more committees.
Well, ad hoc means you dissolve it after the thing's over that you're planning. right?
Oh, it happens every year, so.
And you
Yeah,
don't-
yeah, sure, yeah.
And you don't have to have an agenda or publish it.
It's more informal.
Okay, I've always been involved with butter and egg days, but I'm not gonna be on the events committee, but I still wanna stay involved with it since I kind of birthed it.
Well, can you still be involved and not be in the committee?
Hatched it, you mean.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's, you should be, and I
We'll
think.
put it on toast.
I'm thinking it doesn't need to necessarily be, it can be under the umbrella of events, and we don't even need to talk about it any further, other than, it's kind of your baby, your little chick, so.
I don't necessarily wanna be the mom anymore, but I wanna be involved, yeah.
Why not? You wouldn't be prevented. You would be part of that event, and then you could walk away after that event is done. And
Okay.
probably under that heading of events,
All right.
you would be the head of it
No,
at that time.
not necessarily.
We would heavily rely on you because of your expertise in having created that event, and maybe in the fact that you're gonna pass it on to somebody else this year, it would be easier next year.
Okay.
So I
Well,
have,
let's cross that bridge when we get
Yeah.
there.
Well, I was saying-
I'm starting to get
We need to.
tired of
move
this
on.
already.
all I was gonna say is, can we just make sure that we submit the paperwork to be entered into the butter and eggs
Yeah.
parade, then
as
speak
soon as
about
I
this
get
at the
that-
board retreat, and then just
As
deal
soon as I
with
get the
it?
paperwork, that will get done.
Yeah, so then, yeah.
All right. Do we need to make any changes then do we need to make any appointments to committees?
You wanted to put me on, well, I was gonna move to policies and procedures since I wasn't on, but that means I won't be on any other ones besides executive and finance.
That's a lot, in my mind, feels like a lot, but that's just for me, because it's all Greek.
I'm already participating in it, so.
Policies and procedures really easy, Cindy never answers her email.
What's that?
Oh, snap.
Oh, my email? It was a tough week.
Okay, so.
I don't know. I'm happy to be on policies and procedures, but I am concerned about all of it. As long as we don't be on Tuesdays, that'd be cool.
The magic day.
Tell me why I don't like Tuesdays. So Dominica to policy and procedure?
For now,
Exactly.
yeah.
Do I have to put this in for the minutes? Do people, I mean, that's, seems
Well,
to
let's
me
make
that
all
should
the
be
changes and then we'll make a motion to approve everything at once. How's that?
Yes.
Okay,
moving on to 11A.
Well, what's the requirement for board members? How many committees do you have to be on?
2.
I thought it was two.
Unless you're the city appointed rep, then you don't have to.
Did you have a question?
No, I was gonna say, you can be on, you have to be on two, you can be on more, but you have to be on two.
And I'd like to be put on the events committee.
It is now Dana, Judy, and Richard.
Awesome, Richard.
Nice, thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thanks.
Okay. Now can we move to 11A?
yeah.
Please.
Well, so
I just, all of a sudden, I can't remember, are you an elected or appointed position?
Elected.
He's a-
Elected?
no, it was just,
Is it elected?
it was me and
It
you.
should be in the blue binder, if it's updated, I gave out.
Because I don't recall making any appointments for Richard if he's an appointed person.
I thought only us
You weren't
two
here
were
in
on.
October.
I thought he was
Oh, you mean there was
appointed.
something?
I
We
thought-
did appointments to the board in
Didn't you
October.
come on board at the same time as Dennis and Paul?
Yes.
So those were appointments
Yeah.
when we had a meeting.
It says elected
Really?
Yeah.
Or did he
for 3
backfill?
years.
You got elected as well, didn't you?
Yeah, this hasn't been
This
updated.
hasn't been updated.
No.
Well,
He's elected for 3 years.
Jason is the only appointee.
but to that old executive.
Jason's the only appointee? Okay, good. For a minute, I thought we forgot. Sorry. Anyway,
Sound right.
just looking out for you.
Thank you.
Um,
So we have to make a motion?
Okay, so the changes are, you're going to policies and procedures, Judy and Richard are going to events, and that's, and removing myself and Murphy from events. With that said, I'll make a
Dana is also
motion.
on that.
Hmm?
Dana, Judy, and Richard are the events. On the events.
Yes,
Just mentioned.
Richard. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, so I'll repeat it then. We're adding Domenica to policies and procedures. On events, we were removing Thomas and Murphy, and we have Porcius, Kirschner, Alpert. With that said, I'll make a motion to adopt the changes.
I'll second.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Hurry, move on to the
What
next
did
one.
you say? Kind of?
Who seconded that, Tim?
Tim.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to new business. 11A, discussion and possible action on board director resignation. We all received a email communication from Dennis Murphy stating that due to personal issues that he is making a resignation. I believe he did state in the email that it was school and
Yeah.
other things, so I don't think that's a secret.
He
So,
doesn't need a reason.
no, he doesn't, but I just wanted to share that
For
it
the
was
record.
not of
He
any,
had one.
because of anything I said this time.
This time. We got that.
My question is, looking at procedures, isn't he supposed to send a letter in? And
Email
give
is
us-
actually
Anything.
close enough.
So, just disregard rules and regulations?
No, email is considered compliant.
Got it. So, that's it.
Okay.
You can just send an email and you're done.
Yep.
Committees, everybody just,
But it needs to come from you.
the point is, I'm sad that Dennis is leaving.
Yeah,
It's just left a vacancy not only on the board, it's also left a vacancy on a couple of committees. So,
Welcome to the party, man.
yeah. How do we quickly fill that position? Because it is the vice chair position, which affects the executive committee. So how do you go about filling his position as quickly as he quit?
We have to go out and do that outreach.
Not me.
Not that
And
kind.
that's the only
I
way,
can't be
because-
involved in this at all, right? It's like hiring my own boss, I have to just, yeah, let you guys.
It's always interesting.
But we can't have Patty like put on social media and stuff and say, since we have such a robust outreach and say, hey, we're recruiting for another board member.
there's no reason why we can't put them on our own personal Facebook,
So my,
Yes.
my question is, after
Certainly
saying
can't
that, is
put-
how do we reach out to the membership?
We certainly can put it on Facebook.
it's
The
not
proper
limited to
way.
membership. Quite frankly, this board is lacking
In outside,
diversity.
that's what I kinda said in the
Where
beginning.
we have, every single person on here is involved in programming in one sort or another, with the exception of,
And we don't have one single smart aleck in the whole board.
You
Oh,
take
we
all of
changed
it right there. So.
I was thinking that one over there.
and I think that Dennis had an excellent idea at one point stating that we should cast the net out to the Nextdoor network.
That was my idea.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
Who's that? Oh.
yeah, I told Dennis
It
to
was
get
Axel.
involved in that, and Nextdoor is very
Okay.
vibrant in the
Well,
community.
thank you for that
And-
suggestion.
Yeah.
Well, I brought it up in one of the previous meetings because they were using for the voting in the last election internally, it was one of the most vibrant modes of communication.
But it's,
And they talked, they mentioned Murphy and kept directing people to his program from Nextdoor for people to listen in the community and hear, and that's how I found, I didn't know that they were gonna be discussing, and that's how I found out from Nextdoor and was able to get a lot more information from the community by listening to his program, and it helped me change my vote on a couple of issues, so. Yeah, how do we use Nextdoor?
We could put the mailer for the downtown association too, might put a little blurb or something like that.
Put on next door.
I don't know if Nextdoor has.
Anyway, I don't
I
think
said how
that
to.
casting the net in the studio and grabbing more programmers is the answer.
No.
I think we have a fair representation of programmers here.
So my question was, how do we do it? Within the board, go ahead, Dana, and just send something out on Nextdoor. I don't think that's really what you meant.
Yeah, that's inappropriate. It would be
So-
best coming from, no, well,
I
not.
thought I had to
Well,
stay out of it.
why couldn't individuals just go on next door and say, hey, I'm on the board of PCA and we're recruiting, not on behalf of PCA, say, I'm on the board and we're recruiting a new member of the board.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The only conversations I've had has been internal conversations about people saying, hey, who's on the board? Again, it's a programmer, saying, how do you get on the board? I said, there has to be a vacancy, then speak to the head of the board or to the ED and throw your name in the
I
hat.
thought I had to be totally out of it, am I wrong about that?
It is, that you're not supposed to be recruiting your boss.
Yeah, so yeah.
Okay.
But you have,
Just
yes,
leave Cottage Springs big, yeah.
But somebody has to pile up the applications, you know, there's such a volume. They have to be stored someplace.
Good thoughts. Okay.
Could Jeff put up well, we could just go to info@kpca or pca.tv. Is there
What, like an email that
a
just goes?
community input,
We just sent
email
out the
address?
newsletter today, that would have been ideal to put in there.
pardon me?
We just sent out the newsletter today,
Yeah,
so it's a little late for that today, but,
When's the next one go out?
it's monthly, right?
This is the first one, you can make it what you want.
Oh, that was the first one ever?
Yeah.
Oh.
Send it out again
It's
with
weekly.
corrections.
We did an annual one for the TEP, but if you undertake to do a monthly, I don't think you should do the annual.
well then, then don't send out another newsletter, wait for another newsletter, just send out an email to the same
You
audience.
can do that
as
on
a
MailChimp,
newsletter
you can
to.
make like a one-page thing that says, are you interested in being on the
Call it a
board?
special edition newsletter.
Special, exactly.
I'll give it a few days, so I don't wanna just nail
Okay.
it back to back in one day.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so, I move that we accept the resignation from Dennis Murphy from the PCA Board of Directors.
I second.
Any other discussion?
Enthusiastic.
All those in favor? Aye.
I-
Anyone opposed? Abstentions? Okay. 11B, discussion and possible action on the check signing card. Have you done anything with that yet?
I
Does
have
anybody-
to, we have to redo it to get my name off, Don's on.
Right.
And when you redo it, you have to do everybody over again. You'll have to sign. Dennis left, so I thought if we got a replacement name, then we could do it all at once.
Okay, so right now, who's currently on the card? Myself?
You, Dominica, and myself, with Dennis.
And
Dennis
Dennis.
is leaving.
Do we need to,
Three's pretty good.
do we need to redo the card? I mean, to
Oh,
take
to
Dennis
take-
off, we have to do a new
No,
card?
to put Don on and me off, you're gonna have to
That's
redo
the
it
key.
anyway.
Put
That's-
Dawn on, yes.
So I just was
forgot.
waiting to do it all at once. If you have another name
Okay.
you wanna add, this would be the time to give it to us. Then we'll go to the banks and do it all.
How often did Dennis get the call to sign?
Oh, the least of the three of you. You come in every Thursday, which has been really easy. I've gone to Dominica's office and she's come over a couple of times. That's close. Probably could get by with what you have.
Yeah, I'm there every day, yes.
We need 2 signatures on
Oh,
each
right.
check.
Yeah. It helps to have a third, but it would be a backup.
Yeah, it has to be a board person?
Put my name on it.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
It's easy.
So we'll get back to you with the paperwork that you have to fill out, but everybody else's paperwork is in, you'll just have to go to re-sign.
Just keep me posted.
Thank you.
Okay, so I move that we remove Dennis and John from the check signing card and add Richard and Dawn.
Second.
Any other discussion? Anyone opposed to this? Okay. 11C, discussion and possible action on a revised membership structure. I am not prepared to discuss that tonight. We have to be out of here in 20 minutes, so either for the board retreat or the next meeting. Which your preference?
I think board retreat,
Okay.
personally.
So the action on that is we're punting that to the retreat. The next item, 11D, discussion only on the 2019 board retreat. So I would recommend that we do it sooner than later. In the past, we reserved it to after the TEP event so that we could not only debrief the event, we could plan for the next year. I think that we should do it sooner for Dawn's benefit so that we can make it onboarding for him a lot easier.
Is it during the week or is it a weekend day? Or is it,
It can be whenever we want.
okay.
What are your weekends? Are you every other weekend parent?
I'm always a parent, Cindy.
I know you are, but I meant calendar-wise. Do we want to do this in February?
I'm gone that second weekend, but other than that,
You said you're gone second week?
I'm gone the 6th to the 11th.
Does it have to be a weekend, or how does it matter?
Yeah,
Saturday
we do
works
all the-
best.
I would love a Sunday
You
personally,
wanna do a Sunday?
but I'm gone for 10 days in February, but I could do the
What's your
3rd or the
dates that
20th.
you're gone?
I could do the 3rd or the 24th,
The 3rd or the 24th?
if we decided to do it on a Sunday.
Super Bowl is on the 3rd.
Oh, that's right.
Dan won't care because the Patriots won't be in it, so.
Uh, gonna be at a parade.
I
It's
can't
got
do
football
24.
teams, who cares?
So she can't do
Route
the
5 is
24th.
What about the 23rd? Oh, you get back the 23rd, is that right?
I'm gone the 23rd.
March 3rd?
I've got a gig in the evening, but,
What time do we're usually out by, what time?
4:30,
4?
I've got sound check at McNear's by about that time, but
Well,
that's
you can do it.
with the Mystic,
Yeah.
but I guess that's right in the neighborhood, so.
So we're looking at March 3rd?
Works for me. It's not the day after St. Patrick's Day again.
So where's this at? Do we know yet? We don't know yet.
We won't know until we
Gotta
sit
start
down and
the- yeah.
figure that out. We're
Okay.
just, we need to hold the calendar date.
Okay, so.
We'll find a
March
place.
3rd.
March 3rd.
And what time do we usually start? 9:30?
Yeah. 9:30, please?
I don't know what time, 9:30?
Because I'm working the night before too.
Yeah.
So it would be nice if it wasn't like,
10?
9:30 would be fine, 10 or.
Let's
not.
do 10. I would rather do,
Thank you.
On a Sunday.
Um,
10 to 4 then, 4-ish?
Okay, and I can bounce a little early if I have to, is that right?
Sure.
Okay. Cool, that's appreciated.
Okay.
And that works for you?
Yep.
You said?
So 3-3, 10-2,
Yeah, 6 hours is plenty.
Location to be determined.
yes.
TBD.
Are we gonna ask the hotel again?
They were open to it, why not?
Is it free?
Yeah, they gave us the room
That
upstairs.
Keller Street Cowork is pretty nice too.
Do you wanna reach out to them as well?
Yeah, you wanna do the hotel and I'll do
Sure.
Cool. Keller Street. Keller Street Cowork, it's right across the street from the Phoenix, and used to be Twit TV.
Twin.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
This weekend.
They're laughing all the way to the bank though.
They might be, I guess, but that's why I use Twitter, man. Sorry.
okay, I
You're
think we,
first.
11E, I think we already hammered that out earlier,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah, so
That
just
was
cross it
for
off.
the public discussion on possible action on outreach and fund development events committee meetings.
Yes.
Okay,
So
So,
just cross it off.
But you haven't picked a date
yeah,
for the next one.
exactly.
Oh, right.
I think we're still, yeah, oh, okay, well, now that we've sort of narrowed that down.
Okay, this executive committee is the second Tuesdays at 5:30.
And I'm gone. for
Finance
next one.
committee. What did we say that should, what is the bylaws for the finance committee say as far as meeting times? Do you remember, John?
Yeah, only that it's a standing, meeting. And I don't remember it ever really meeting regularly.
We used to at one point on
I don't think it
PCA
says.
Life, it used to be
when.
every month.
I don't even think it says monthly in the bylaws. Do you have anything?
Well, there's policies for finance, then there's our bylaws, so. Do you know?
I didn't think there was like a set,
I-
set number of meetings or anything like that, it's just a standing committee, maybe quarterly. Trying to figure out my calendar.
Okay, because we should have had like a mid-year review, and that would have been this month, right?
We're gonna, Don and I are gonna tackle a mid-year budget review tomorrow.
Okay,
So, and we are in touch with the board treasurer, so that would be that's how it's functioned in the past. And I guess if there was a key financial decision, then you would call a committee meeting for it.
Me and Jason were supposed to meet and we haven't yet, so maybe after, because I can't really set a date back on it.
okay.
But when's your meeting tomorrow?
We're gonna start at 10:30.
Can't make it, that would have been good.
We should have been invite yourself.
I know.
Is it tomorrow or Thursday?
Thursday is Torkelson's, tomorrow is you and me.
Okay.
But we can change that afterwards.
Special meeting.
Well, if we wanna, yeah, and we'll talk about it after and see if we can move it during a little bit so I can go.
Yeah, it's fine, I'm there 10 to 3 March.
Elected appointed.
Okay, the nominating committee, are you gonna be holding regular meetings or what?
No, not regular meetings.
Article 11. Article 11.
Well, I would suggest if you're gonna have the discussion that you said, that you reported out on today, have those discussions with Jason present, since he is part of the nominating committee.
I agree.
Okay. So, and like I said, that this is a standing committee, so it has to have an agenda, and therefore Jason would know about it. Right? Okay. And minutes.
Bylaws. are
Policies and procedures, what do we wanna do with that, Tim?
fine. That's what I asked you.
Yeah, I know. I am leaving tomorrow morning for
Okay, let's not-
Mexico.
Let's not do
I will
tomorrow.
be back next Tuesday.
I have Tuesdays and Wednesdays typically messed up.
I mean, for
Thursdays
the
is
three of
better.
us, we can meet anytime during the day, which is how we used to do it before. Remember, we used to go out to the college and meet with Matt.
Well, you met with
For
Matt on
now.
Fridays.
For now, I might only be available after hours in the future, but
Okay.
right now I can meet during the day.
When are you leaving? You're going,
February 9th, the 20th. And I will not be within contact range.
You going to Belize again?
India,
Oh, yeah, you're going on a wedding, right? Wow,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Bring a mask.
You're gonna get one of those little tattoos on the side, yeah.
Hannah, and that's for the bride, yeah.
Okay.
We going for a wedding?
okay. I will be back, I will be back on the 22nd. What days of the week works for you guys?
I like Thursday afternoons best.
Thursday afternoons?
That's fine with me, I just
So
can't
I
do
can
the
do
24th.
it during work or after work.
Okay.
Thursday afternoons. Most of the time.
All right, so,
No wonder I wasn't irritating those kids down
It is a recreation center.
there. No, it's just a whistle, not like the children,
I
anybody
think
children.
there's
are
a little, it
irritating.
sounds like a bum wheel on a shopping cart or something.
No, there's like a whistle or
Yeah.
something that's going on down there.
can
The
we,
only question is why are they at this late?
So I
Just
just,
early for kids.
I just can't meet on the 24th.
okay, I was gonna suggest the 31st, because the
Okay.
24th, I only have a
February.
couple of days to get ready for my shows, and
Yeah, I'm cool with
I
that.
cannot do the
Thursday afternoon
31st.
would not be good.
Okay,
So the 30, what?
I cannot do the 31st.
Okay,
the 7th.
Seventh is good.
Dawn?
I just want to verify that, are you going to contact us about when you have time to meet for events?
Let's just CC an email and we'll figure it out.
Perfect.
Is that cool?
Thank you, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll do it right now, actually.
So what time?
Can you do the 7th, Tim?
Yeah,
Okay, what time?
afternoon or evening, I don't care.
Oh, man, there's
Oh, that late.
What time for you, Dominica?
Can we do it at 5:30?
Sure.
No, that's not during your workday. Where at?
Well, it's gotta be close to the office because my show's at 7.
We can do it in the office.
Yeah, we can do it, just do it there to make it easy.
Or at the boardroom across the street.
That works too.
That's where my meeting is on the 31st. I'm hosting a going away party for 5:30.
So the
6.
boardroom then? Oops.
Okay. Okay. Outreach and fund development,
So February 3rd, 5:30?
Yes. February 7th, yeah.
Why didn't I get the 30th?
still don't think that outreach and fund development should meet until after we
Yeah.
hammer things out. at
I
the
agree.
retreat. Okay, and then the events committee, do you,
He's going to contact us when he's got a time. to
Okay,
meet, and we're
perfect.
going there.
all right, we're good.
Does any of that stuff need to go into any of this?
I don't think so,
Okay, and I just need to.
just that we set dates and times. Just not the details of it, just,
Dates and times have been set.
yeah, so then if we need to refer back, we know when we made those decisions.
Okay, that's it. So the only question happens,
That's it?
my question is, I have a board recruitment as a possible, new business for discussion next month, yes?
Do we want to? Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, I wrote it down because I wasn't
Yeah.
sure, and so then, I just need to kind of. Okay, so that's, other new business for next month?
We have money.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can't
so-
give anything right offhand.
Okay, just making sure I didn't miss something that should have been in here that we spoke about.
I think we're
I
good.
think we got most of it, okay. And
All right.
I will periodically ask you folks, because I'm still.
Okay, so then we need a, motion to adjourn closed
To
session.
closed session.
So moved.
Second,
Dana. Seconds.
Oh,
Dana seconds.
Cindy seconded.
Oh, you
Okay.
did? I didn't hear you. This here is still ringing.
Do you wanna-
No, you go.
did you go listen to music? Okay,
We went to see Saeed
okay.
in Sydney.
All right, so, we can turn
Turn
the
the
camera
camera
off because we're going into